Anyway, so today, it's a sad subject. So I want you all to know that I'll bring up some very gory and disturbing things. I know, look at my beautiful mouth, man. I set it up new. Do you guys like it? Tangent. Yeah, so today we will be talking about Maus and the Holocaust. And I know that some people don't want to learn about those things. I honestly think you should, because I think it's very important to learn about the Holocaust, and so that we can improve and strive to do better. But if it's not your thing, I totally understand. I'm actually going to wonder how many views this video gets. I just thought it was important on my part to make a video about Maus, because there's been a lot of talk about it in the book community. So, on with the video, my god! Do you guys like this angle? I think it looks pretty sexy. Alright, today we are talking about Art Spiegelman's Maus. If you don't know much about Maus, this will be the first probably episode where I'll be very serious about things, and I'll try to be the least amount of Holden that I possibly can, because I know I'm a little bit crazy, and from what I can tell, a lot of booktubers are, specifically Daniel Green. Great guy though. So here's the simple plot of Maus before I review it. I don't think this is my first book review. Well, I guess Green Knight was the first one. I'll go in more depth about other books, probably starting this year. I might do a Poppy Bowl review, something like that. But anyway, Maus is a story about a Jewish boy who is talking to his father about the experiences his father had in the Holocaust being Jewish, and all the horrors and terrors of the Holocaust in Germany, and how that affected him. It is brutal, it is really, really sad, and it is very important. Because if you don't know the whole story, this has been banned in a ton of schools. And I understand why. I do not believe in banning books, but I understand why someone would not want to learn about this, because it brings up some very serious subjects that are really, really, really kind of grim and dark. Like, I know I'm a Malazan fan and I get used to dark stuff, but it's nothing like the Holocaust. I've always had a harder time processing things like 9/11, the Holocaust, slavery, you know, more of those things. Please comment if you, or someone you know has gone through a similar thing like the Holocaust, or just a really hard, event, I guess. But, yeah, it's very hard to process it. It's easier to process an orc getting slashed with a sword than it is for you to process hundreds of Jewish people, I guess I should probably not say that, but being tormented and thrown in gas showers and being burned to death. It's hard to think about that, and I totally understand if you feel sad. I honestly think you should feel sorry about all these things. If you're not crying in this book, are you okay? You doing good, man? Or woman? I don't know. I don't know what my audience is. Apparently it's a lot of 6-year-old men. That's kind of freaky, but that's okay, I guess. But yeah, I didn't even go to the main part of why this is called Maus. Because everyone that is Jewish in this book is the actual, they look like a mouse. For example, I'll show you this little, see, that's the grandpa, and that's the kid. I guess dad. And all the Nazis are cats, and I think anyone else can be any other animal. I remember specifically people that are kind of neither, are like pigs, if I remember correctly. But, yes. I guess I'll get on with the main discussion. So, I understand a lot of the things that people praise about this book. it should be praised. This is like the darkest graphic novel I've ever read. And I read Watchmen. It's almost in a similar vein of Watchmen, but more realistic, because it is a real story. I believe almost everything, or maybe even everything, from this is real. And it's even harder to think about that all of this is real. Because the things that the Nazis... I'm sorry, I'm getting a little teary-eyed. The things that the Nazis did to Jewish people in the Holocaust is terrible, and it shows how terrible humanity can be. But also the stories of the people that have lived through those things and come back and tell people about all the horrors of it and tell them these amazing stories. That's what also matters. I think that's why it's very important to read Maus, especially is because it kind of underplays someone else's story, I guess. If you're saying, no, I'm too scared to read that, I don't want to read that. Because, I mean, it's almost impossible to live in a world, I have so many friends that live like this. They live in a world where it's like their parents haven't really told them about any of this stuff. And I don't know if you can tell, but I grew up in a household where the Holocaust was taught to me very early on. I think there's a video on YouTube about me explaining 9/11. And it's like the most basic thing ever, but I still knew about those things, right? And I think it's important for everyone to know. Maybe even if you know the most basic thing ever, right? Like, most people know Hitler's bad, the Nazis killed Jewish people. Like, it's the most basic thing they know about the Holocaust. But, I think a lot of people have read the Anne Frank diaries, and that shows a lot of realism, but it doesn't show you the concentration camps and how brutal and terrible the Nazis were in the way that Maus does. And I know, it's hard to read Maus. I gave it 3 days, and this is how I always do it. I go the first 2 books on the first day, and then I process it with my mom and dad, and then I read the second book, then I read the third and fourth, and then I read the fifth and sixth, right, the next day, and so on and so forth. And then at the very end, I kind of have this discussion, right? I just finished it yesterday. And it's hard. It's hard, guys. I honestly think that anyone that's in middle school that, if you know about these things, I think it's very important to learn about them. That you should, in some ways, read Maus. Even if it's just looking up a Wikipedia article that's someone's story about what happened to them in the Holocaust. It is important to learn about these stories so things like this don't ever happen again. And in my opinion, the Holocaust is one of the saddest things to ever happen in history. Like, it's the only history class besides some slavery stuff. Like, learning about the KKK is hard. It's the only class that I've, like, balled in world studies. And it's hard, guys. It's so hard. Yeah, I guess I'm just telling you guys that you should read this. I don't really want to give it a star review, because how are you supposed to review the Holocaust? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna say this is on my list for read this. I know it's not fantasy, but it's kind of fantasy. It's nonfiction. It's weird. It's mice and cats. But I think one of the harder parts about it is the fact that you realize, oh, it's not mice and cats that this is happening to. This is real people that are being burned alive and put in gas tanks and, gas showers, and then cranking it up and killing all of them. I know that I've been talking about a lot about the Holocaust lately, and it's just because of Maus. Like, I know there's like a little trickle it in and trickle it out. I should be doing a Schindler's List review in the next couple weeks, because I'm excited to see that film. I've finally gotten to the age where my mom's like, sure, you can watch it. I'm not going to watch it because it's a hard movie, and I understand that it would be even harder. If I was already crying through this, I'm excited to see how hard it is for me to watch Schindler's List. But, yeah. Alright. Well, I enjoy you guys learning about these things, and I would love to have more insight from people that might have experienced things in the Holocaust, or have grandparents or parents that were involved in it in any way. Or even if you have the other side, where like your uncle was part of the Nazis or something, and you see his perspective on the things that happened. I don't know. I'd love to see both sides, to see... Because I know there is people that were part of the Nazis that were like, that didn't agree with the things that were happening, but they're like, go Germany. Alright, I said I would try to be serious, but people that know me know I'm not a very serious person. Subscribe. Yeah, so I hope that everyone reads Mouse if they can find a copy. I'm actually glad that it's kind of getting off store shelves, because that tells you, don't ban this book. I should also talk about the fact that there's rape in it, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. Bye.